Y'all know what time it is. Y'all know who I am. I'm Jay, aka the Moderate Texan. That's Money Matt Marr over there. Matt, how you doing, my guy?
I'm good. How are you, Jay?
Oh, it's a great day. It's a great day because there's so much to be excited for as a Houston Texans fan. But not only that, there's other stuff we get to talk about today. It's been a week of just craziness. We watched an awesome divisional round where I think all four, both games were really good. And now we're about to watch probably the two best football games ever, the Chiefs and the Bengals, and the two best defenses in the NFL with the 49ers and Eagles. Two of those teams have coaches that we want. The NFC's looking great. So let's jump right on in. Y'all know what this is. This is the Moderate Texan podcast. Description for everything is down below. As you guys know, all our social media and stuff is down below. That's Matt's information. That's Ryan's information, aka GM Fanatic. That's Jordan's information, aka Texans Thoughts. That's my information as well. As you can see, I'm the Moderate Texan. As you can see it right there. You can see that's Money Matt. You can see that right there. And yeah, the podcast information which is on Spotify. We've got it on Google Podcasts. We've got it on Apple Podcasts. All of that is available for you guys to listen to. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe if you guys like the content we're putting out. And yeah, let's have a little bit of a ball. As always, if you guys need something to pray for, go ahead and drop that in my Twitter DMs. If you have my number, text me. Put it in the comments if you guys want, whatever that may be. But yeah, what up? What up, Beige? How you doing, my guy?
My favorite.
You guys can hear me okay, right? Yeah. Yeah, I turned it down, so we're good. All right, cool. All right. So this is going to be a little bit of a different approach today. We have a little bit of an agenda. So let's jump into that. The first bit that I wanted to talk about is the offseason and our coaching search. But we're going to start with the offseason. And we'll jump in there. So first and foremost, we all know that the season ended not the way we wanted, right? We had a chance on the number one pick and we blew it. Clearly is that. We're all mad about that, but the number two pick it's there. It's available for us. We don't have complete control, but I think we're still in a really good spot. Yeah, I know. Without my glasses, it's different. I'm trying something out. I'm using this thing called the video broadcast. I'm actually not looking at the camera. Here, I'll turn my head. You can see I'm looking this way. When I turn and look, I'm looking at the camera. I'm actually not looking at the camera. I'm looking at my screen over here. So that is pretty cool. Yeah. I'm not wearing glasses today. That's because if I put these glasses on right here, which I'm sacrificing for you guys today, and I'm struggling to see a screen a bit, but it's cool. If I put them on, it makes me look like Deshaun Watson, and I don't want to look like Deshaun Watson. Let's just leave that alone. All right. So let's talk about the offseason. So a couple of things that we know that have been happening. We are in prime position for the coaching search, which has been interesting because there's been a lot of people talking about how bad and undesirable the Texans' job is. That's clearly not true, as we've literally interviewed all the top coaches. Evero, what's that guy's name? Thomas Booker, Thomas something.
Thomas Brown.
Thomas Brown, yeah. Thomas Brown. Sean Payton, D'Amico Ryans, Jonathan Gannon. We've interviewed Mike Kafka. We've interviewed all those people. We're clearly a desirable position. So that's one thing. Two, we're in prime position with cap space. We have the ability to sign both Tunsil and Titus to keep our bookend tackles for the future. That's beautiful. We want to do that. We have a bunch of rookies on contract. We watched the emergence at the end of the year of Christian Harris, of Derek Stingley, who got hurt and just got shut down halfway through the year. But we saw him start to get better. And keep in mind, y'all, he did not give up a touchdown all year. No other rookie, no other corner can say that. I watched Tariq Woolen get cooked in the playoffs. We watched Sauce Gardner get cooked in the regular season. No other rookie can say they allowed no touchdowns. But Derek Stingley can. We watched the emergence of Jalen Petrie. The man led all rookies, and I think he was fifth in tackles as a safety. I think he led all safeties, period, in tackles. And he was up there in probably the top 10 in tackles for the year. That was a beast. We got to watch Tegan Cotoriano really come out at the end of the year. The man started to look like a true tight end 2 option. I still think we need to grab a tight end 1. I don't know, Washington. And Brock Bowers next year. But
that put
I
Tegan
do
at
think
tight end 3.
What was that?
That put Tegan at tight end 3.
It would, but it's okay. It's perfectly fine. And keep in mind, Tegan also went up against some of the best defensive linemen and linebackers and stood his ground. Like, he completely eliminated people like Kayvon Thibodeau, people like Khalil Mack, people like Hargrave, and various other people. He went up against those people and he stood his ground. He was able to do that. We saw it in the film throughout the year. Tegan Cotoriano was no joke. So we have a lot of rookies. We have a lot of incoming rookies and a lot of people that we could target as free agents. So this offseason is going to be one that is not – it's going to be more exciting than off seasons we've had in the past 2 to 3 years. What do you think on that, Matt? Anything else that you wanted to add to that? Anything that you think I've missed?
I'm just wondering if we should be more excited about this offseason or next offseason.
That's a rough one because there's no Cooks, right? After this year, there'll be no Cooks. He's probably getting traded.
New uniforms.
Yeah. Oh.
The end of the Watson compensation, which we'll see how that plays out. And then, what else? Am I missing something?
Into Watson compensation. We'll have a new coach. We'll have a new quarterback. Possibly, it depends on how this draft goes, but I'm fairly certain we're going to draft a quarterback this year.
Yeah.
But this year is going to be. What was that?
Either way, this offseason and next offseason are going to be incredible.
Exactly. And 2024 should be a fun season to watch. It'll be a young team that's hungry. I don't think there'll be anything close to what the Bengals are, but that's the hope.
New drip
that's better than the Jags because they did it 3 times in like 5 years. No offense to the Jags. Y'all had a great team out there. But
maybe we should take their two-tone helmet idea, like start the back red and then have it fade into blue or vice versa.
Cut that. No.
Say what you want. That two-tone helmet.
No, I think we should go with black helmets, like the ones that you can pick up in the store. That's it. So we went with the Texans offseason, or we've talked about that. Let's jump into the next subject, which is the coaching search. So coaches, right? We know that the Texans, it seems, narrowed it down to 2, maybe 3 candidates. Jonathan Gannon, D'Amico Ryans, and this is in no particular order. Jonathan Gannon's, D'Amico Ryans, Kafka, and we know that Ejiro Evero got his second interview as well. So we could say 4, but I don't think Kafka and Evero are the favorites. I think the 2 favorites are Jonathan Gannon and D'Amico Ryans. Again, in no particular order. I know there is a massive uproar and a massive bit of panic in a bunch of people thinking that D'Amico Ryans is out. I don't think that's the case. I am no fan with sources. Keep a lookout for Pat Slim's podcast coming out. That'll be legit. I'm no fan with sources, but I am just a guy who uses logic. And if anybody wants to comment, if you're in here, if you want to comment, it is what it is. I don't think they're as different as people. I don't think there's a difference in level as much as people are saying. I want D'Amico. Yes, Eden. I think, in my opinion, I want D'Amico more than Gannon. But in reality, I think they're on equal ground. Here's why. DeMeco Ryans brings a swag back to Houston that we already know. He is the hometown kid. He's the people's champ, right? Giving that people's elbow, going like that, right, in the ring. This man, we know that as soon as he walks into the stadium, he's going to be loved and he's going to have a lot more leeway. Why? The fans want him. They remember him. There's good memories. It'd be the same as if J.J. Watt decided to come and coach, right? Or Arian Foster. We're going to give them more.
I think Jay's frozen.
Leeway, or even AJ. Oh no! Okay, whew. Thought I lost internet for a second. Okay, cool. We're cool. I think I lost internet for a little bit there. All right, sorry about that, guys. So I do agree with you, Eden. Here, Cal wants DeMeco, right? The fans want him. Hannah wants him. Everybody and their mother wants DeMeco back in Houston. That's neither here nor there. I think he's going to get more leeway because of that. I think that's the big thing. I know he's going to bring a better defense. I think he makes linebackers better because that's what he started as, a linebackers coach, right? That's what made him really good. So when it
Jay's gone again, but I don't know if I can be heard, but my 2 cents on the subject is I heard stories about when
comes down to
the player. Oh, he's back.
You're good. Keep talking. Go for it.
So my 2 cents on it is I heard that because obviously DeMeco was before my Texans fandom started, so I don't have a whole lot to say on the topic, but I did hear that when DeMeco was playing in the games that the defensive formation and schematics would be more complex, and because the coaches knew DeMeco was going to go out there and line everyone up where they needed to be, direct everyone to go where they needed to go. But then when he wasn't playing and wasn't out on the field, that everything was a little more simplified and easier. Well, not easy, easier for everyone else to understand. So DeMeco already brings not only the swagger, but the intangibles and the knowledge back to the age.
Exactly, right. He can make a complex system simple, right? And we know that he can translate that to linebackers. He did that on the 49ers. So that's my kind of point with that. But let's talk about Gannon real quick. I really want to talk about what he brings to the table. As long as
and who's advocating for him inside the building.
That's true. I do want to talk about Gannon, and if my internet cuts out, you know the conversation we were having, Matt, so that's good.
I can try to carry it on.
But the big thing with Gannon is 2 things. One, he's a former scout, so he knows how to find players. That's big, especially when it comes to the draft. He's probably already been scouting specific players that he wants and he really likes. That's good. We want that, right? The other thing that Gannon brings to the table is secondary knowledge. Remember, like I said with the 49ers, their linebacker core is their strongest bit of that defense. Period. They have the best linebacker in the game in Fred Warner right now. That linebacking core is insane. They have an intense defensive line, but that linebacking core is it. Fred Warner guarded CeeDee Lamb. He ran a route with him, step for step. So that's kind of big. But on the Eagles, I would say their strongest unit is their secondary. And what are 2 players that we just got in our secondary that are fantastic? Matt knows one of them, or Matt knows all 3 of them actually that are there. But the big one is Steven Nelson, who came from the Eagles and played under Jonathan Gannon.
Bingo.
Are you telling me that he wouldn't be able to be coaching? And he was great under Jonathan Gannon. You're telling me Stingley wouldn't get better, and you're telling me Petrie wouldn't get better. You're telling me that King wouldn't get better. You're telling me that none of our corners and safeties would get better. Come on now, be smart. Be smart now. If anything, both of those guys just have differences in styles and what they can do. Not saying that they don't have great defenses as a whole, but Darius Slay is playing
top 3 defense.
Yeah, both of them are top. They're 1 and 2, right? They're both top 3, and neither of them are 3. One is 1 and the other is 2. So that's how good they are, right? The reality is, our secondary was already good last year. Where we sucked was linebackers, which I'm not so sure it was the linebackers' fault because they were in Tampa 2 all the time, and that's not what they're good at. And front 4,
that's
the defensive line. What was that?
Beige is coming in with all of the hot takes.
I don't know about that, Beige. I think you might get the window for that one. That one's terrible.
Window.
Deep cut from the Texans' thoughts days. But the reality is, Gannon does bring something to the table that people have forgotten, and it's mainly secondary, which we were terrible at for a while. I don't know if y'all remember, but when we had players like VH3, we were bad in that secondary. That is unacceptable. So are we going to, it's kind of, again, 1A and 1B. Do we want somebody who can handle, that can make our linebackers better? We know the secondary is good. We want the linebackers to be better? Or do we want the secondary to get even better so that our front 7 can get to the quarterback, right? Our D-line was terrible. We're going to need to address that in the draft and in free agency. I think both coaches bring players with them. I think they want to come here and play for those players. D'Amico Ryans is bringing players from the 49ers and players who used to play for the Texans, most likely, that played with him. They're probably going to want to come and get coached by him. Jonathan Gannon
follows D'Amico Ryans to Houston.
Kareem Jackson coming back would be cool, but I don't know. But there'd be some cool players that could possibly be coming back, right? And then you have players that come with Gannon that are on that Eagles defense right now, right? That, I don't know, a Hargrave maybe. I don't think Fletcher Cox is going anywhere. He's pretty much staying there. But Sweat maybe, right? You have all those players that could possibly come this way, and that would definitely be attracted by those two coaches. So I don't think people should get up in arms about those two coaches, right? I think either one's going to be good.
Not all about that. That's very valid.
I don't want Charles Omenihu, who actually, man, he's played good, but I think it's because he's had Nick Bosa and Armstead and Fred Warner and various other players there that kind of take stuff away and make.
Not to mention the last time I played him in Madden, I almost gave him the smoke.
Rip.
Man's got a lucky fumble in the fourth quarter that ended the game.
Big rip to that. That's a big rip right there. All that to say, we know in the coaching search that those two are the top candidates. I do want to talk a little bit about Kafka. I think there is something to be said about what he did with Patrick Mahomes and how he helped that offense there. And then we see the immediate turnaround with
Danny
Dimes. He immediately goes from this dude looks like Davis Mills to
Vanilla Vic.
Yeah. Vanilla Vic. Fantastic. He literally jumped up in levels. The man leveled up. He got his superstars, the X Factor, and everything in Madden. The man is a beast. He became good all of a sudden. That offense looked amazing. Now, is that the Brian Daboll effect? Or is that the effect of Kafka? Or is it both? I don't know. I think Kafka brings that offensive knowledge and that West Coast offense here that we really want. But I think he is the tertiary, last-ditch effort, which is not a bad thing. be a good thing to have somebody like that and have him be a last-ditch effort. I'd be okay with that. Were there any other coaches, Matt, that you were thinking of that you're like, yeah, we need to be going after this guy, or we should really be focusing on these people? Or any other points that I missed?
The only candidates outside like the top 4, but the primary 2, like I'm going with the Eagles, or not the Eagles, the Broncos defensive coordinator, Coach E. Like, no matter how many games the offense screwed the Broncos out of, the defense was right there keeping them in it, and up until the point they realized that they didn't have anything left to play for because the offense sucked and they were eliminated from playoff contention. So I think Coach E should be getting a little more respect, and there's a chance that if whoever Denver hires as their head coach, if they don't want to bring Coach E back, then we could probably sign Coach E as the defensive coordinator.
Agreed. Another thing about Coach Evero, Jero Evero, remember, he did that with that offense with his best player traded halfway through the year. They lost their best player halfway through the year. Chubb was gone. Like, they didn't have him. They didn't have Surtain for a while. And they still dominated. Held people to 18 points a game. Like, at what point, like, and that was the entire defense with not, I would say it wasn't crazy amounts more talent than us, although Chubb is better. I don't know if Surtain's better.
And they have Justin Simmons.
Yeah, Justin Simmons is great. But is Kareem Jackson considerably better than the way Petrie played? Nah, I don't think so.
They also had Randy Gregory, but he got hurt
exactly
earlier throughout the season.
So they lost a lot of players and a lot of talent and still held people down. So Evero can do more on defense with less. And that's what you want out of a defensive coach. Can we say that Gannon has done that and D'Amico Ryans have done that? Yes, we can. They've done a bunch for years in a row. They've had the best defenses for a lot of years in football. But I do find it interesting that our 3 out of the 4 top coaches are all defensive. I think they're the best coaches that are out there. I think Kafka doesn't really have a shot, but I think he is our last ditch. And the last ditch of the last ditch is Evero. I think he would be the guy that we hire after. And I'd be happy with Evero as well. I would just be more disappointed that we didn't get Gannon or D'Amico. Anything else you want to add to that before we jump on to the next subject, Matt?
Nope.
All right. This next subject is near and dear to my heart. My friends, I wanted to, this isn't for showing off purposes, but it is at the same time. I wanted to show a little bit of what I've been doing and kind of give you guys some of my tips and tricks while I'm barbecuing. So as you guys can see, this was from last year. I just started barbecuing again this year. Actually, MLK Day is when I barbecued again. But this was for my family last year. This is some ribs. As you guys can see, these are baby back ribs, but actually before they were baby back ribs, they were spare ribs. And all I did here was, or not spare ribs, they were the full rack actually. All I did was I cut the top off, kind of trimmed the meat off the bone there, and made them look like Kansas City style or St. Louis style baby back ribs. Matt knows a little bit of something about that. And I can tell you these ribs were legit. My family ate them like never before. That's just how it was. And it was part of the reason why I was so burnt out, because I did so much barbecuing. And Kelly coming in with the fire. She did do the work under my tutelage, but she did do the work. Hats off to Kelly. First off, hold on. Let me cut it real quick. Kelly dominated on the MLK work. That'll be the last thing, or second to last thing that I show. She dominated, y'all. She's legit at barbecuing. She has learned the pit. She has gone from white belt to blue belt. She's not a master yet, but she is a fine sous chef.
The student has become the master.
Exactly. All right, let's get to the next one. For ribs though, one of the things that I recommend is that prep. Prep is the thing that you want to do. You want to make sure you get that fat off. You want to make sure you get the film off. You want to make sure that you cut everything down evenly. And then when you go to cook them, you want to cook them out first, then wrap them. Make sure they get up to temperature. And then once they're there, take them off. Once they're at temperature, like ready to be taken off, take them off, douse them in whatever barbecue sauce or sauce that you want to do. And then leave those on there for about 15 minutes to let that caramelization start. And once that happens, you'll have tournament grade ribs, my friend. Tournament grade ribs. All right, let's get to the next one, which is the thing that I did today. And I kind of wanted to talk about my process with this because I think it's the easiest. So I did chickens today. If you can't tell, these are 2 small chickens. What I normally do with chicken is I brine them. And in the brine, I won't give away the full recipe, but I just recommend you find a brine that you like. Most brines entail about 2 gallons of water, or about 16 ounces, so about a gallon actually. A gallon of water to a cup and a half of salt, which is a lot of salt. And then whatever other seasonings you want to put in there. Sometimes you put sugar, sometimes you don't. It just depends on what you want. I like to put brown sugar, honey, and whiskey in mine, and whatever other stuff I decide to put in there. And that's it. I brine it overnight. So 8 to 12, maybe 16 hours of brining. Take it out of the brine, and then you pack that chicken dry and leave it out until it's room temperature. Let that dry off. Let it be like the skin is all dry. Pat it down. Maybe spray some oil on the outside if you guys want to kind of get that skin crispy. And then let it sit out. Get your pit going. Get that temperature. I usually smoke it around 300 to 350 degrees, somewhere around there. And just let it go until it gets to temperature, which is 165. Let it rest afterwards for about 20 minutes. And then that stuff falls off the bone. Like, it's done. Like, we took that stuff apart. It was easy peasy. Again, Kelly is the sous chef master. She helped with that. As y'all know, I just came off of surgery, so lifting 5 pounds was hard to do, hard not to do actually, until recently. So she did help me with a little bit of the heavy lifting, although I am able to do that now. So yeah, it was good stuff. But on to the pièce de résistance, which is the beautiful stuff that Kelly did. Let's jump to that real quick. Let me see. I'm just gonna have this one photo. This is the last bit here before we go about our business. The last bit that we did is a ribeye roast. If y'all don't know what a ribeye roast is, ribeye steaks are literally the steaks that are on the rib. It's right here on the cow, right? Generally it's up, and that's what, if you see a tomahawk ribeye, it's the whole rib. That's just the ribeye on top, and that's where you can see people beating stuff with a club. This is the ribeye roast. Kelly did the work on this. Let me tell you, it was fantastic. It tore me up because I was messed up for the next couple of days because I didn't have medicine for it, but it was delicious. The crust on the outside, the flavor of it, fantastic. As you guys can see, it was cooking there. We wrapped it. Yeah. That was at my dad's pit. So big thing that we did here, we also brine this. I normally don't brine beef or pork. I usually just brine poultry or fowl because that tends to need to be a little bit more juicier. This is fattier meat, so you generally don't need to brine it, but brining it instilled it with that flavor that was just chef's kiss, y'all. It was fantastic. Highly recommend you guys do that with any meats. Be sparing with how long you do the brining, because if you do it too long, you just break down the meats too much. then you got mushy stuff in your mouth. You don't want that. So none of us want that. But yeah, a little bit of stuff about me. If you guys have questions about barbecuing or things that you guys want to do or things that you guys want me to teach and like show you the entire process, whether that be in YouTube Shorts, whether that be in a podcast episode in and of itself, whatever it may be, let me know. Drop a comment on that and I will see what I can do. All right. Next bit of information. Let's talk about some video games. I really wanted to talk about this. I love video games. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge video gamer. I'm a nerd. Let's just be real with it. I'm a huge nerd. I play video games on my PS5. I have my PC. I have a Switch. I've got it all. I love it. It's fun stuff. But there are some games I really wanted to talk about that are coming out. Matt, I know you play games as well, but you're mainly a sports guy.
I'm mainly a sports guy. Yeah, I'll jump out of the box and I'll play some Star Wars here and there, some Call of Duty, but mainly I stick to the sports.
Yeah. I started playing Madden recently. I got real addicted to that my career mode and just went ham on that as a running back. So that was fun.
My career mode, it gets old so fast. I'm really big into the Ultimate Team stuff. Not necessarily playing online because one, there's too many people that know glitchy plays and the cheese, and so I just like playing against the CPU and doing all the challenges and stuff.
Yeah, I'm not good at defense on Madden, so that's pretty much why I don't play that a lot. But 2K, I know how to play defense there because basketball is much easier to play defense than football. Because football's crazy. Football's insane.
I will tell you this, though, Jeff. The meta for defense on Madden this year is man blitz. So, in the Texans playbook, they have a double safety blitz.
Mm-hmm.
I run that play literally every time, and I use the middle linebacker. It's
you mic up. Yeah. I just don't like playing defense. I'm an offensive guy. For the short time that I played before football quit me and I quit football was when I ran running back. A little bit of running back. Loved it. And that's just shifty scat back. Fun position to play. That's what I play in Madden. And it's too easy. Just find the hole, burst through. Get 5 yards. That's just how it works. So fun stuff. I love playing Madden on that. I used to play games like Call of Duty. I still got to play with Alpha. For those of you guys who don't know who Alpha is, dude is awesome. Alpha is one of my good friends. Met him at a Texans game. That was fun. But we got to play still, and I still have to destroy him in hardcore because he'd be playing that core, and that's for kids. That's for children right there. I mainly play though a lot of single player games. One of the big games that's coming out that I really want to talk about, Matt kind of alluded to it, is Star Wars. Jedi Fallen Order was probably one of the best games that I've ever played. It was really fun. They're coming out with the second one for that, and that is Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Super excited for that game. That's going to be really fun. It's going to be the same thing, well, not the same thing, but similar style game to Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, just with more abilities and more awesomeness of Cal Kestis. Final Fantasy 16, I'm a huge Final Fantasy fan, so I played every other Final Fantasy game. I know not everybody's a nerd like me and loves JRPGs, but I'm a huge JRPG guy. I love that game. I'll play it as long as they keep coming out. Except for Final Fantasy 13, that game was trash. And then Spider-Man 2. For those of you who have PlayStation, the first Spider-Man game was phenomenal. It was one of the best games I've ever played. I didn't even know there was a fast travel system until after I beat the game. Didn't know about that. Super fun. It's now on PC. I don't think it's on Xbox. It's a PlayStation game, so It's unfortunate there, Matt. Got to get you to play that game. It's super fun. But Spider-Man 2 is coming later this year. It's going to be super fun for those of you who have PlayStation, either PS4 or PS5. Get it if you can. You get to play a Spider-Man and the Wolverine. We're getting a Wolverine game by the same studio. For those of you who like to slice and dice your enemies with 3 claws and a bunch of rage by Canadians, that is Wolverine for you. The X-Men legend is coming. And that's going to be a real fun time. All right. We've talked about a lot today. We talked about the coaching search. We talked about the offseason. We presented some barbecue. We did some video game stuff. Let's take some questions. We might do a mock draft before we drop off. I'll let Matt do that this time because he's the mock draft king and I'm just a guy. Any questions for me? This is my best friend, my brother here. No, it's not like the PS2 one. It's a completely different game. This one is far better than that by a lot. That was a really good game. The Spider-Man 2 game on PS2, which was super fun. This Spider-Man is a completely different. This is like Arkham Knight meets Spider-Man 2. Really fun game. Really enjoyed it. The prime rib, I showed that. I can show it again real quick. This was it cooking. That was it done. Or at least one of them done. And this is when we cut into it. It's no Chamagacha, but yeah, it's good enough. It's good enough. All right. Questions, thoughts, ideas, drop them in the chat. We'll talk about them. I know there was a rather long discussion about the coaching search of the Texans. And I know y'all are probably wanting to flame me right now in the chat. Go ahead. I'm more than willing to answer your questions or even just discuss what's going on, discuss my thoughts on that. If there are no questions, though, I wanted to ask, who would you be most disappointed with if we got them as a coach for the Houston Texans? Who would be your most disappointing hire? Yeah, go ahead and let me know that. Frank Reich to Carolina. If he would, I like it. I do like it a lot. I'm kind of sad because that was another big win. If Frank Reich as an offensive coordinator with Jonathan Gannon would have been amazing. Period. That would have been fantastic. But that's not going to happen. So that is what it is. I think Frank Reich would have done better if Christian McCaffrey was still there. His offense, from what we've seen, performs extremely well with a powerhouse running back. And I guess you could say Deontay Foreman is that, but he really isn't. They're going to need a good running back there. Maybe they trade for one. Maybe they pick up Bijan in the draft. But I do like the idea of Frank Reich in Carolina. I think he is going to fit in well there. I think he's going to make that offense better. And I think they win some football games. What I do want, though, is I want them to take their time. And by them, I mean Carolina. Don't fire Frank too soon. As you're hiring him, you're expecting him to build his team the way he wants to. And part of that involves him bringing in a good running back, bringing in a good defense, getting all that stuff like he wants it. I think he's a great leader of men. He's a great player. But yeah. I don't think this is an interesting point here, Beige. I don't think Steichen's in the top 4. I don't think he's in the top 4 at all. I think it's Evero over Steichen. in my opinion. What do you think, Matt?
I also think Steichen has fallen out of the top 4. Like, he's still in my top 4, probably. But to me, probably the most disappointing hire that we could go with is probably someone that we don't interview, personally. So, like, say we end up with, like, an Eric Bieniemy or, like an Eric Bieniemy, Josh McCown. Like, I don't want any of those guys. Like, give me D'Amico, give me John, give me Shane, give me Coach E. I'm not going to try to pronounce that man's name because, like, I've heard it a million times. I still can't pronounce it.
You still can't pronounce Evero?
Evero, is that how you say it?
Evero.
Okay. Yeah, so give me one of those guys, but, like, Thomas Brown would be kind of disappointing compared to, like, who we've interviewed. But, like, as long as we end up with one of the top guys that we've interviewed, I really don't care who it is.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I think my kind of guy that I would be really disappointed is, again, Josh McCown is one. I think Eric Bieniemy is another one. No one else has interviewed him. Literally no one else. The Chiefs did.
Or not the Chiefs, the Colts.
Oh, that's right. They did interview him, and they have done nothing with him. So, yeah, that would be somebody else. I would be disappointed if we went and grabbed some other, like, Hines Ward or something like that, although I know he's going to be coaching for the Brahmas. I think that would be disappointing as well. That's not something I'm looking forward to. But, scary dad comes in from behind. Cool. But yeah. Yeah, it's the word ever with O at the end. But yeah, I think there are plenty of good coaching hires that the Texans have. I also want to debunk the belief that the Texans are an undesirable spot. And that's kind of been floating around. I know people who don't really know the situation, who are, like, in that zeitgeist or in that know there, that don't really have. They think that the Texans are just getting trolled by all the top candidates. And if that were the case, then we would not have interviewed any of them. Like, Peyton wouldn't have showed up. We wouldn't have had D'Amico show up for 8 hours, right? Like, on a Zoom call. I don't know about y'all. I'm in Zoom calls all day at work. 8 hours in a Zoom call is like I'm so drained after 8 hours. But the man went and coached a heck of a game in the NFC divisional round against the Cowboys, which I'm going to bring this up, and I want people to tell me if they agree or not. I think the 49ers got bailed out by a missed call by the refs. What do you guys think on that? But with that being said, still 8 hours. Jonathan Gannon didn't interview that long. Kafka hasn't interviewed that long. Evero didn't interview that long. D'Amico did. So that's kind of my thought. I think he's still the favorite. But, I do think it would be disappointing to get Peyton because we'd have to give a lot up for him. But yeah, I'm not. I think Peyton has fallen out of the. I think he's fallen out of the top 5. I think Steichen's in the top 5 over Peyton because you have to give something up for Steichen.
Dark horse candidate. If we ever wanted to see Dameon Pierce at center, we could get Kellen Moore.
I was in on Kellen Moore until that play. I don't know what the heck he was doing there. I don't think they were supposed to snap that ball. I don't know what was happening there. But yeah, that was terrible. That was bad. What I will say, I wanted to kind of circle back to this. So we all know about the catch that happened, right? The George Kittle catch that was a thing of beauty. Let me see if I can't find it. George Kittle. Let me pull that up real quick. So this has been this tweet that's been going around, and I want to pull this up here. Let me share. Let me share real quick. I'm gonna make this bigger. All right. So let me go back. Let's kind of show you what's happening here. So a lot of people thought that this was George Kittle over here. Clearly, that's not. It was, as you could say here, it was a heck of a catch. That was amazing. But one thing I want you to notice as we start the play. All right, let me get this back here. Should probably pull this on NFL Plus, but the big thing is right here. This is George Kittle. George Kittle is on the end of the offensive line, but covered up by Kyle Juszczyk. What that would mean is that he's ineligible because Juszczyk is an eligible receiver. Whoever 69 is a possible eligible receiver if he did the eligible receiver bit. Obviously, these guys are eligible receivers out here. You got McCaffrey, I think that's Ayuk, and I think there's a Debo right there. Those guys are all eligible receivers, but Kittle would not be. He would be ineligible because he's covered up. And yet, he goes and makes this room now, which is why he's over the middle. Oh, what a catch by 96 Kittle out there on him, right? So interesting. I mean, that was the most athletic catch I've ever seen in my life. First off, let's talk about it. Are you Kittle? Let's talk about this catch real quick. This is insanity. This man, in less than half a second, he bobbles it there. He's still bobbling it. Diggs is seeing it. Still bobbling it. This is less than a second away. Still bobbling it. He still got the ball. The ball is out. Diggs is already launching to take the ball. Kittle tucks and turns in half a second. That composure, as you said, Beige, is insane. New defender was coming for him. Crazy. It's Gallimore here. He shouldn't have been. There's a reason this defensive lineman is on him. He's covered up. He shouldn't have been. He should not have been on the play. That should have been a flag. See, look, there's Kittle. There's Juszczyk. Juszczyk would be the eligible receiver here, not Kittle. So I wonder if the Cowboys, because this was a momentum shifting play. Remember, they scored a touchdown on this drive, and it was deemed the Kittle drive. Was that the reason the 49ers won? I don't know. They were. It was kind of a neck and neck game at that point, and Dak was already playing terribly. But I wonder if that play had been called back like it was supposed to be, would it have been a different outcome and we'd be interviewing D'Amico Ryans right now? I don't know if Diggs had a big whiff or not. I talked about this section with somebody. Go ahead, Matt. I knew you would say
he had two big whiffs. He had the miss hit for the ball, and then the dropped INT.
Yeah, he had. Didn't he have two dropped INTs that game? He had one that was literally in his hands, and then he had another one that he should have probably caught as well.
I think so.
But the point is, on that whiff, I don't think that is as big of a whiff as people are saying. I think that was more a great play by George Kittle. George Kittle literally, again, in less than half a second, with the ball extended all the way out, pulled it in and turned his body. And keep in mind, Diggs is within a yard of him and is already launched at him. That's half a second reaction time and still was running. Like,
it was such a great play. It made Trayvon whiff.
Yeah, like that's crazy. Like, it was, honestly, I say that's a bigger play. Like, that was a bigger Kittle move than it was a Diggs just being terrible. Because he's generally not that bad of a tackler. He's not a bad tackler in general. He's pretty good at that. But yeah. Anything else? Any other questions? Anything else you wanted to bring up, Matt?
I don't believe so.
Are you going to try and go to a game next year?
Oh, definitely. I'm going to try to go to at least 2. Because I'm going to try to go to the first home game.
That'll be fun.
And then, depending on whenever we go to Carolina, I might try to go to that game too, because I have a friend up here that's a big Panthers fan that we'd probably go watch that game. So we'll see. It all depends on how the schedule lines up.
So Alpha, no, I look different because I'm not wearing my glasses. And yes, I did shave this. I've shaved this. I had it shaved for about a month now. I had it shaved in the last video. Just this. So
I did not. I've been.
No, I decided to shave this off. I used to go around with the goatee. I decided to go back to it. I like it a little bit more than the full beard. This gets itchy sometimes. So
I've been thinking about just taking all this out, just going with the mutton chops.
Don't do that. This is not Hell's Angels. Like, come on now. Don't do that. You're not Lemmy from Motorhead. None of that. So, what's up, Alpha? By the way, it's good, man. I was talking about you earlier. Not in a bad way. Just we got to play some Call of Duty soon. Yeah, you know how it is. Call of Duty Smack Talk. That's just how it is. All love out to you. Talked about how we met also at the game. That was a cool time. That was like 2 years ago, though, I think. 2 seasons ago. Back when we had Cully and we were better. Just strange to say. Any other thoughts, ideas, anything y'all want me to cover? I want me to talk about in game or in the games and film, coach talk, kind of recap on that. I mentioned that we mentioned that that both D'Amico Ryans and Jonathan Gannon are kind of 1A and 1B, and they just bring different things to the table. D'Amico Ryans brings a leadership presence that is almost unheralded. I don't think anybody else really beats that. He brings a leadership and a calmness to a defense that's crazy. I think he helps the front seven tremendously, particularly linebackers. We kind of mentioned this earlier. Like I said, the best part of the San Francisco defense is the linebackers. That linebacker play is insane. It's ridiculously good. And he has gotten that linebacker core up to unbelievable levels. But with Jonathan Gannon, you get another side of the ball or another side of the defense, and that's the secondary. The Eagles' best part of their defense is their secondary. And we happen to have a certain corner on this team that played under Jonathan Gannon in his secondary, Steven Nelson, who had a really good year last year as CB2 and later in the year CB1. So we know that he could make that better. We know that both people are going to make a good defense. I think there's just different parts. I think no matter what, everybody's going to like him, either candidate. I want D'Amico more because I think he gets more leeway with the fans because the fans are going to want D'Amico there. It's D'Amico Ryans, former player, former captain. Like, dude should be in the Ring of Honor. We're going to love the man. So that's just how it is. We talked a bit about the offseason as a whole and about the spot the Texans are in, draft position, so on and so forth. What else did we talk about? We talked about my barbecuing techniques, kind of showed off what I made and how I talked about how I made them. We talked about video games and what games are coming out in the future and what I'm looking forward to playing. And now we're here at the questions. So if there are no additional questions, probably will be an episode next week. We'll talk about a couple other stuff. Obviously, we'll talk about that divisional or the conference championships. Whoever wins that game is. I don't know if we're gonna. If D'Amico loses, I think we hire him straight up. If he wins, I think we wait until Super Bowl is over, and I think that's that. Yeah. Do this again next week. Talk a little bit more. We'll hopefully have some additional guests on. I'll see if I can get some people invited and see what we can talk about. Just have a little bit of fun. Might play some games together. As always, if you guys like the content, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't forget to check us out on Spotify. Don't forget to check us out on Google Podcasts or Apple Podcasts. We're on all of that. If you want to get in contact with us, all of our information is down below in the description. Leave a comment. Let me know what you guys like or dislike about this. Hit me up on Twitter. DM me. If you got my number, text me, call me, whatever. You know how to reach me. Kim Possible reference for all of those who can get that. That's that. I think we got to do a lot today. We looked through the darkness and the chaos that is the Texans fan base that has been panicking for no reason, I think. Reached through that darkness, found just a little bit of light, and brought everybody right back to the middle, hopefully. No, man, the party's for Texans Thoughts people only, so we'll talk about that in Discord. If you guys want to know what we're talking about, join Texans Thoughts Discord. To do that, join Jordan's channel, subscribe, and look up the community information. With that being said, like I said, we saw everything, looked through that darkness, found a little bit of light, and brought it all right back to the middle. I will see y'all next week. I am Jay, aka the Moderate Texan. That is Money Matt. You guys have been listening to us on the Moderate Texan podcast. We love you all. See you next.